Hello and welcome to National Herald. Today is 2nd of October, the birth anniversary of Father of the Nation. And I'm joined by his family member, his grandson, Mr. Tushar Gandhi. And welcome, sir. Welcome to National Herald, Navjeevan, Gandhiji's own newspaper.
Thank you so much.
Today is a very special day every year for India. But in 2021, what is the significance of today for you?
I think the significance for me today is an opportunity to reaffirm our faith in the ideals enshrined by Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. I think we sorely need to do that, and with honesty, not just as a ritual. Because like everything else, we have very successfully reduced Gandhi Jayanti to a mere ritual for a day. And that is not really how one should remember and cherish the Gandhi legacy. And so for me, today is the day when his ideals and his work have to be cherished, remembered, and in whatever way possible, in however amount possible, adopting them into our lives.
There is a lot of propaganda today against Mr. Gandhi, and there is, of course, a reason behind it. And the reason and the propaganda is not confined only to India. There seems to be an international reaction to Gandhi also. And I want to kind of ask you a couple of questions on that. For instance, recently, some people in South Africa have begun to say that Gandhi was actually pro-apartheid. He was actually anti-black. And it's a propaganda which is being drummed very, very strongly by a certain section. It's still a small section of their society. What do you have to say to that?
These kind of things are very natural to happen when you have a presence that is so overpowering. There is definitely going to be a reaction to it. And I don't think that should be of bother, because the accusations are so frivolous that somebody with even just a basic intellect will recognize the motivation behind that campaign. I don't think we should be unnecessarily provoked into wasting time in arguing with these forces, because they are blinded by their prejudices, and you can't make do anything about those kind of blind prejudices that they have sort of insulated themselves by. And it's better to work to spread the truth amongst, even if it's a minuscule minority, to spread the truth amongst them so that they at least know the true person, the true ideology, and influence them to adopt it. So I don't bother. I used to get very worked up about these smear campaigns and things. I realized that one of the strategies of the smear campaigners was to make us preoccupied by reacting to their hate. And I realized that it was something that was their strategy. And I was falling prey to it. And I've decided not to fall prey to it. If they believe Bapu was a racist, they are welcome to that belief. If they believe that Bapu was pro-apartheid, they are welcome to that.
Likewise, there is also propaganda in India of multiple kinds. And I want to also ask you a couple of questions on them. For instance, there is a constant tendency to compare him with various other freedom fighters. For instance, Gandhi was against Subhash, or Gandhi was against Bhagat Singh or Gandhi was against Sardar Patel. What do you have to say to that?
As I said, these campaigns are motivated and they are sponsored campaigns. They are not spontaneous campaigns arising from belief. My worship of Gandhian ideals is a natural thing because I believe in them. Nobody pays me to campaign that way. Nobody sustains me. The anti-Gandhi campaigns are paid and motivated by the ideology that murdered Bapu. And so you're not going to be able to, really convert them or convince them. What you have to do is continuously keep posting the truth about it, and that's what I do. So I don't get bothered about it. Again, I used to get and I used to respond to them in anger, and then I realized that I was falling prey to their designs and wasting my time with them. These are not even ideologically motivated campaigns against Bapu. These are sponsored, paid for campaigns, and people are earning their keep by continuing that campaign. Let them earn their keep. I will
So
get my
let me ask
satisfaction.
this question in a different way, Mr. Gandhi. Was Mahatma Gandhi against against Bhagat Singh or Subhash Chandra Bose? Was he actually against either of them?
Yes, he definitely was against both of their adoption of the ideology of violence. And that is very natural for somebody who believed non-violence was his creed and his life to oppose the people who wanted to adopt violence and promote violence as an alternative to him. It's very natural. I don't think that Bapu needs to be condemned because of that. If that opposition to the ideology if is being tried to show as if Bapu carried out a vendetta against them. No, he did not carry out a vendetta against them. He respected their choice of the method that they wanted to use. He did not go against that one bit. He respected both Bhagat Singh and Subhash Babu, even after politically opposing Subhash Babu in the Congress and ensuring that he left the Congress. Bapu and Subhash Babu did not turn into bitter enemies. The respect that they had for each other, the love and affection they had for each other remained. And so the opposition was only to the ideological bent of their minds and nothing to do in person. And there was no attempt to harm them or destroy them the way today we see when there is a political difference because they cannot retaliate intellectually. The attempt is to defame the person and make fun of him, ridicule him or her, and harass that person. That wasn't what Bapu did. Although if he wanted to do it, he could have very easily done it at that time too. But the differences were only ideological and limited to the ideology itself, nothing more than that.
And what about him giving preference to Jawaharlal Nehru over Sardar Patel? How much truth is there in that?
No, he definitely preferred. He made no bones about the thing that he preferred Jawaharlal Nehru Panditji to Sardar Sahib. But that also did not mean that he had anything personally against Sardar Sahib. It was basically a very practical decision that he made because he was very worried about the deteriorating health of Sardar Patel. And by the time of independence, or by the time when the choice had to be made for the head of the interim government, it was a very well-known fact that Sardar Patel was keeping very poor health. And at the time, a need of the time at that point of time for India's sake was a stabilizing influence for a longer period. And the concerns that Bapu had proved to be true because Sardar Sahib was invalidated almost within the first year of independence and passed away very soon after independence. And if he had been at the head as the head of the state, there would have been a power vacuum very soon in the infancy of India. And I think that was the concern that Bapu also had. And you can see the example of what happened to Pakistan, where the influence of Jinnah was removed within the first year of the formation of Pakistan. And look what kind of chaos and anarchy that nation plunged into after that. And so I believe that even the choice of Sardar Pandit Nehru over Sardar Patel was a practical choice. It had nothing to do with doubting the abilities of Sardar Patel or Pandit Nehru.
Talking about Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, because it's difficult not to mention them in this interview. There is a constant propaganda, and I'll simply call it propaganda because that is what it is, that Gandhi and Nehru were behind partition of India. Where were Gandhi and Nehru in 1947, and where was RSS in 1947 in the national politics?
Yeah, see, you must recognize, Rukmani, that RSS was doing what it was born to do all the time. It never wavered from its path, and that path was of sowing hate and propagating hate. And whether it was when they were born in the 30s or in 1947 or today, that is the only thing that they have done is sow dissension, hate, and division. They have not done anything else. Even when they seemingly do constructive work of aid and providing relief, I think it is with the motive of instilling hate by it. They don't do it without a selfless motive. And so they were doing that. That is their sole objective. So let us appreciate them to be for being true to their ideology of hate and division. So for them to campaign that Gandhi and Nehru were responsible for the partition, then if they are the only Deshbhakts, as they like to call themselves, where were they? If they felt so offended by the division of India, partitioning of India, why did they not launch a mass movement to prevent the partition of India? Maybe we would have had a civil war. But then they believe in war, no? They believe in armed conflict. They believe in hate. They believe in violence. Why did they suddenly adopt what is unnatural to them? Passive, being passive and being non-violent. Show me one example of where the Hindu Mahasabha or RSS came out on the streets and said, we will not allow the partition of our motherland because she is beloved to us and we worship her in her entirety. And we are not going to allow it, and we will fight a battle against it. There was only one voice that was raised that kept warning India against partition, and that was the voice of Mahatma Gandhi, which RSS ensured was muted by killing him. And that was the only act that they did in that time. So where is the justification for their claim of being patriots and being hurt, mortally hurt by the vivisection of Mother India? They thrived on it. They actually were the only ones who benefited from it. And they have been reaping that benefit for the past more than 7 decades now, having done nothing either for the freedom of Indian motherland or for protecting it from being divided. They did absolutely nothing but exploit the situation for their own advantage and for making themselves popular. The biggest bunch of liars is the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh.
Now I'll come to Ambedkar because that's going to be my last question. in recent times, the new Dalit leaders, the new young Dalit leaders like Jignesh Mamani and Pradeep, they have kind of started saying that we believe in both Gandhi and Ambedkar. This is a new development. But for a long period, Ambedkarites said that they had a problem with Gandhi, that Gandhi didn't help them enough. And Ambedkar also, Baba Sahib Ambedkar also had his own accusations. How do you see the difference between Ambedkar and Gandhi, and especially now?
See, what the difference between Baba Sahib and Bapu were ideological. The ideology and the methods that they adopted were different. And it was very natural that there would be that kind of bitterness. You must remember that Baba Sahib came from the background where he suffered because of the caste prejudices and the caste hierarchies dominant in our society. He realized that there was no place for him and his community in the Sanatani Hindu religion. That if they remained over there, they would always be exploited and oppressed. Whereas Bapu came from the diametrically opposite belief that yes, there was a rottenness in the Hindu religion, but it could be cured and it should be cured. And it should become inclusive in the true spirit by keeping the Dalits in the fold of the Hindu religion itself, and the religion being reformed so that those prejudices could be done away with. Neither of them was wrong in their belief. Neither of them were wrong in their belief. But we must accept the fact that finally the majority of us, Hindus and Dalits, ensured the defeat of the ideologies of both Gandhi and Baba Sahib Ambedkar. The greatest defeat of Bapu was that he was unable to fulfill his desire for the religious reform of Hinduism. And the greatest defeat of Baba Sahib was, despite his best attempts, his solution for social engineering also was defeated by people who were not committed enough as Baba Sahib was to ensure that that mechanism delivered the results desired by Baba Sahib. And so it wasn't the failure of the two people, but it was our incompetence and our undeservability that we ensured that what they tried with honesty and true spirit, we ensured that it was defeated. Today, if Dalit leadership is realizing that both the ideologies of Baba Sahib and Bapu are inspirational, it is because they have seen that how divisiveness within us is benefiting the ultra fanatic right, which is the real oppressor. And that is where this new sense and respect for both is coming. Look at Dalit politics till now. It was as exploitative of the Dalits as the Savarna politics was any day. The entire Dalit leadership that emerged till few years back, all they did was used the Dalit vote bank as their own power source and enrich themselves. Where did they make any contribution towards the betterment of their own society? I say, you know, you don't want to be the leaders of all the Hindus, fine with me. But be honest and sincere leaders of the Dalits at least. Ensure that that community gets the benefit of your leadership and is uplifted. Then curse Bapu. Then you have all the right to curse Bapu. But where had they done that themselves? You see how the Dalit leadership in politics enriched itself at the cost of the community that they claim to be the messiahs of. And you will see the difference between Baba Saheb, leaders like Baba Saheb, and the leaders that we saw in the interim. I hope that the new leadership emerging from the community resists those temptations and becomes true leaders in the footsteps of Baba Saheb. If they don't want to follow Bapu, I don't have issues with that. But at least to be true to Baba Saheb. That is what is required.
Do you think because of the so-called and because of the Ambedkarite politics, or people who call themselves Ambedkarite, do you think there has been a tendency to kind of the right wing, of the Hindu right wing, to take that space? So this was a fight between two radicals, the Gandhians and Ambedkarites, and not even a fight, I would say an engagement, a discussion, and they were trying to evolve the best possible structure there. But the people who actually benefited from that is the RSS. They managed to kind of come in and make space, and they somehow position themselves as messiahs of
over here I'm reminded of a childhood fable that I grew up on. I was told about. It was about the fight of the two cats over a roti, and how a monkey comes in and exploits that fight and snatches the roti away from himself for himself under the pretext of doing justice to the two cats. That is exactly what has happened in the political and social sphere in this country. That people who were actually the oppressors and who still are the oppressors and proponents of the caste hierarchy system have come in and exploited and encouraged the dispute between, which was merely an intellectual argument or debate. They came and exploited it and fomented trouble and created a rift and benefited for themselves. And that is the best simile possible to what has happened. But having said that, I have to also admit that in their own ambitions, Gandhians and the so-called Ambedkarites, both are so-called in my consideration, the so-called Gandhians and the so-called Ambedkarites, have both also played into the hands by constantly trying to create their bases of strength. They have played into the hands of the opportunists, and only now there is a realization that this is being exploited by the original oppressor, and let's at least not do that.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for making time for us, and happy birthday again.
It's my pleasure. And just a little bit of a correction. I'm the great grandson, not the grandson.
The great grandson, yeah.
The great grandson. I can't let you drop the great from my title.
So here we were speaking with the great grandson of Mahatma Gandhi, our beloved Bapu. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You're watching National Herald. I'm Rukmini Sen.